Ladies and gentlemen, your Los Angeles Kings.
Welcome back, Kings fans. This is Tape to Tape. I am Jesse Cohen. She is Carrlyn Bathe. We've got a lot of games to talk about, but before we do that, Kings fans, do you think you're the ultimate Kings superfan? Well, Mercury Insurance is looking for you. Visit mercuryinsurance.com/kings to learn how you can win some great prizes, including the grand prize of a luxury box at home. Now through March 15th, and that day is coming up faster than you may think, you can submit on Twitter, on Instagram, or as we said, at mercuryinsurance.com/kings. Multiple weekly winners will be chosen and have already been chosen at random to receive prizes such as LA Kings merchandise, autographed memorabilia, and virtual meet and greets with the players. 8 lucky finalists will be selected by Mercury to move on to the finals bracket, where fans will vote to decide who will be crowned the grand prize winner and the ultimate LA Kings superfan. The grand prize winner will win 55-inch Toshiba television, 4 Adidas silver team-signed jerseys, a $500 McDonald's Arch card, McDonald's Superfan Game Day meal, including favorites like Chicken McNuggets, Big Mac sandwiches, world-famous fries, and McFlurries, as well as other McDonald's swag. And Carrlyn,
yes,
you didn't have to be the Mercury Insurance Superfan winner to get a free McFlurry this week.
Oh, no, you didn't. All you had to do was know that Matt Love scored during the McFlurry minute. And you could download the app and get your own McFlurry. Woo!
That's right. Now, I have to confess one last mention. Go to mercuryinsurance.com/kings to enter that contest. I have to admit, I am a little tired of the Matt Luff puns, just because there's an endless supply of phrases, songs, movies, TV shows, etc. that can have the word love in it. But our very own Zach Dooley, he made me laugh. When Matt Luff scored the McFlurry minute goal, he said, "McDonald's, I'm luffing it."
Oh,
And I wasn't expecting that one, and I did laugh. It was
that is so perfect. We are so lucky to have Zach Dooley.
He does a great job.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So funny.
Usually, I actually don't enjoy puns. I just feel compelled to make them when they're there to be made. But like I said, that one did make me laugh. But
yep.
A fascinating week, Carrlyn, because 2 disappointing games and 2 great games. But the disappointing games, they still got a point out of. So, like, if the team is disappointing you and getting points in 4 straight, I feel like that's a pretty good sign, no?
It's a good sign, Jesse. And I know you're just talking about this last week of games, but before that regulation win against Anaheim last night, the Kings hadn't gotten a regulation win since toward the end of February. So if we really look at the last couple weeks of games, it's been an interesting journey. So it was nice to get fully rewarded in a proper 60-minute game rather than taking it to OT and sneaking out with maybe 1 point and not the full 2. So it was just nice to see a game done and won proper, and it was a funky week just getting to that point for sure.
It was. And listen, the St. Louis Blues are a good team, so you take that one on the chin, but then you come back and win, and then you're up against the Ducks, and I think the expectation from everybody was that they would win and win easily, and obviously 11 goals in that first game, and it didn't go the way they wanted. But then you get those powerful quotes from Todd McClellan after the game about half the team not being ready and the game was already over.
Don't be a houseplant.
Don't be a houseplant. Exactly. And then they come out and it seems like message received. I mean,
absolutely. He had talked about having a strong start, and that's something we've touched on, I guess, probably throughout the whole course of the season. The emphasis being on a strong start. They've got to get a strong start. The first 20 has to be strong. And I feel like since Todd had spoken at Morning Skate, he had mentioned how big of an emphasis he had put on a strong start. Actually went into detail of this is what we talked about. These are the things that we address. And it sounds like they addressed it in a more extreme way than they had in the past, and message received because that start was way better than what we had been seeing. So getting the upper hand early, I think, is just what's going to help them get what we would think an easy win over the Ducks.
And some unlikely heroes in the second half of the week, right? Anze Kopitar carrying the load. A lot of people use phrases like, he dragged the Kings to that win in St. Louis, with his 2 goals. playing exactly like you would expect him to play, then Adrian Kempe gets not only a hat trick in the first game against the Ducks, but then 2 goals in the second game against the Ducks last night. And, as you texted me, my power went out halfway through the game. As you texted me, right? Adrian Kempe, so hot, he's taking up all the juice from my neighborhood. So
exactly. He's what's crazy about Adrian Kempe is we all see his greatness. Sometimes I think it takes him a minute himself to see his own greatness. So he's looked at as sometimes a streaky goal scorer, where I believe his drought in February, it went from February 9th to the 26th with no goal until that game against Minnesota on the 27th, and he scored one, and then it's been kind of like he broke the levee ever since.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he can be one of those reliable heroes and goal scoring type of forwards if he continues to kind of believe in himself and realize, hey, if I do shoot the puck, it does go in. So when he's going through those droughts, you just see him shooting less overall. It's not like he's over the top taking, 4 or 5 shots a night and they're just not going in. It's just kind of a lull completely. So to see him break that and come back and be this player that we all see that he is, that Todd McClellan sees that he is. It's just been so fun to watch, and he's just on fire right now.
Yeah.
That hat trick on Monday was impressive, and the other 2 goals, 5 of his last 7 goals over the last 7 goals in the last 5 games, and 5 of them are coming from those games with Anaheim. It's just fun to watch.
And on the other side of the ice, Troy Grosnick, a goalie who got his last win not days ago, not weeks ago, not months ago, but years ago, or his last NHL win, I should say. He's been having himself a career at the AHL level. But Troy Grosnick comes in. Cal Peterson, unfortunately, placed on COVID protocol. Jonathan Quick still nursing an injury. In comes Troy Grosnick, a guy who I think a lot of Kings fans, when the Kings acquired him for the second time in a few months, said, Troy, like I saw all sorts of comments like, oh, well,
Right.
Great, the cup is ours, blah, blah, blah. Great game, 1 goal allowed, nicknamed the Goose. Just good for him. Just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. That was fun to watch too. And when you say years ago, 2014, this is last, NHL appearance, and it was under Todd McClellan when Todd was in San Jose. So that was kind of a special tie-in there. And I asked Todd after the game, Jesse, because you know me, I like to get sentimental and bring out the best in people. And I got typical hard-nosed coach answer. I asked if there was anything nostalgic, or did they reminisce or talk about, hey, that's kind of cool. The last time I, played, it was under you back in 2014. Absolutely not. There was zero conversations like that. It was put the pads on and get in that. And I was like, okay, yes, let's go. So he gave a lot of credit to him, because even though people haven't seen him at the NHL level, he's not been quiet in the in the AHL. He's been a force to be reckoned with. So no surprise he showed up tonight or last night.
I don't know if you noticed it, but I tried it your way in the media availability the other day. I asked Drew Doughty, right, if he and Anjay Kopitar and Dustin Brown ever talk or muse about the fact that, they've all been, no, we don't talk about it. We're just playing. It's fine. I was like, okay, great. That's what I get. That's what I get for asking.
He's so honest.
Yeah. Listen, before we get to our conversation with Wanton Davis, we are going to name a King of the Week this week. And we referenced it earlier already, but Anjay Kopitar was looking like he was going to go ahead and run away with it based on this series against St. Louis. But then Adrian Kempe went ahead and scored 5 goals against and almost scored 6 and almost scored 7, right? 2 real strong chances late in that game against Anaheim. But, look, with 5 goals in 2 games and 6 goals on the entire week since the last time you and I, Carrlyn, spoke. I think we're going to have to go ahead and give it to Adrian Kempe. So congratulations, Adrian Kempe, this week's King of the Week.
Absolutely. Here's your crown.
Yeah, there you go. Have some music playing. That is going to bring us to our conversation with Wanton Davis. I thought it was an interesting one. Covered a lot of topics that I find pretty fascinating. So hope you enjoy it. Let's go to that now. Well, we're here to talk about presenting a live NHL game, and to help us do that, executive producer of live events, Wanton Davis. How are you doing today, Wanton?
Great. How are you, Jesse?
I'm excellent. I apologize in advance to Carrlyn and you and everybody watching. I have a tendency to ask really long questions, so here comes that long question. When I was a kid, I never gave any thought to the presentation of the hockey game, right? My dad would bring me to the game, we'd sit in our seats, we'd get a hot dog, and all I knew was that song would play, at the beginning and ending of the period. and the lights would go down and boom, there's a hockey game. And as I got older, I started paying more attention. I started noticing, the props, the sounds, the lights, as the ice crew, Bailey got introduced, etc. To the point where in 2012, when they won the Stanley Cup, I believe that having the Black Parade play before the game was almost as important as any of the players on the ice. So having said all that, I'm curious what your approach to 50% of a night's worth of entertainment is, given your job.
So I guess I would say, unlike you, when I was a kid, I always noticed and was always impacted by the environment of sporting events, and not just sporting events, but anything really. I've always noticed sort of what was behind it and how it felt. And that could be a sporting event, that could be a concert, that could even be from the ambiance of like a grocery store. I've always paid attention to the playlists and kind of the music curation, pretty much anywhere where I go. And down to details of like light fixtures and the sort of weight of different metals. And that's something that I've always noticed and always paid attention to. And it's always driven whether or not I not felt comfortable, but whether or not I wanted to be at a certain place. I think that like Starbucks, an example, a lot of people sell coffee. And I wouldn't even say Starbucks coffee is any better than any other coffee, but when you're in Starbucks, from the music curation to the colors and to how everything is sort of presented, makes you want to go and buy your coffee there. And so it's something I've always paid attention to. And as I've grown in my career and really developed my own point of view, it started becoming more apparent to me that sporting events could really be driven by the ambiance and by the environment in the world that is created around the event itself. And, the event itself is the meat, right? It's the meat and potatoes, and it always has been and always will be. And it's why people come. But yet, when you have a nice dinner, you might have meat and potatoes, but you also have like a little broccolini going on the side or a nice garnishment, something like that. And so, so that's kind of what I feel my role is to garnish and just to decorate the plate. You won't walk away full from the role, but you will hopefully like comment on, it looked nice, or, that was such a nice compliment.
Yeah. How do you want people to feel when fans are allowed again back inside Staples Center? How do you want people to feel when they see your show?
I want people to be blown away, and I want people to walk away wild, and I want it to be an event where people can post about. I want it to be social by design, where it's an event where, people want to show you that they were at a Kings game at the Staples Center, and people want to spread that message. And so I want it to be a message that is just starting, but will eventually touch a lot of people and ultimately encourage people to come on out to Kings games.
Hockey's in a weird spot, and honestly, I feel like it has been for 30 years almost, where you have all of these traditions, some of them official, some of them unofficial. You have a very clear, I want to shy away from the use of the word demographic, but it's the only word I can think of. But there's, whatever, I forget the name of the guy who does the good old hockey game, right, that plays during intermissions. There's a mood, but then at the same time, you want to expand that audience. You don't want to be stuck in the, 60s or 70s forever. We're in 2021 now. And so I find myself sitting there in Staples Center and Bruno Mars comes on and I'm, dancing to it because I love the song. But then another song will come on that I'm not familiar with, and I can't help it. I have that urge to go like, well, that's not a song for a hockey game, but it's just because I don't recognize it, right? Like if you had played the Bruno Mars for me 20 years ago, I wouldn't have known it, and I would have said, "Oh, that's not." But now I love it. And I go, oh, "Of course, it makes perfect sense." So how do you? It's a vague question, but I mean, you have an opportunity with no fans to not have to deal with that, but with the future of fans coming back, I mean, which world do you put the heavier foot in? Expanding the experience or paying homage to the past and the tradition?
I mean, I think they go hand in hand. I think everything evolves over time. No matter what it is, everything evolves over time, but yet everything is rooted from somewhere. And so I think you really have to respect and pay homage to where it's rooted, but yet, also be in the current times and evolve as society evolves, evolve as tech evolves, evolve as music changes. I won't say evolves because I don't think music evolves. Music just changes and becomes more popular and is circular. But you sort of have to live in the current times by not shunning what came before it. And I mean, even think about that on a team level where the current team is in the position that they're in because of, Luke and Wayne Gretzky and some of those guys sort of built the visibility and built the brand awareness to the point of where it is now. And so you pay homage to them, but yet you still evolve and it's a way to be creative in your own right. Like the current team isn't playing exactly how the team played 20 years ago. So I think it's just a natural evolution.
When you look at the elements you have right now, is there a favorite one of yours that stands out? Because fans haven't seen all the beauty that's in there this season. One of my favorites is the Baby Yoda and the Crazy Train song, and he's inside the ship flipping it off, and it's so good and so hilarious. But do you have a favorite element right now that you can't wait for people to see?
I really like the fact that we're able to play with a few different elements right now. One thing that excites me is the audio portion of it and the audio narrative. And so in thinking about it, I've tried to design it as though it was a soundtrack of a movie soundtrack. And you know how a movie soundtrack guides you along?
Yes.
There are certain scenes where they're more intense and you feel that, and the music plays a huge role in that. There are certain scenes where, it dies down and you really need to hear the dialogue. So the audio portion of it and trying to map out the audio narrative is something that really excites me and something that will evolve over time as well. And it's gradually evolving. So that's something that just kind of makes me smile to see the evolution of that.
Love that.
We've had conversations with your predecessors. Sorry, Carrlyn. And I am fascinated by that element that you just described because I don't know. Director seems too simplistic a word, but I mean that is the direct corollary right into the film world. You're directing the show, right? You're bringing in the elements and you're choosing the timing and everything. So I'm curious if you have inspirations, people that you've looked to, whether it's in film or music or even sports, that have inspired you to create your own sort of imprint on your job.
Career-wise, I would say I've always looked to P.T. Barnum as a source of inspiration.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
And I would say because I'm not the talent, and P.T. Barnum wasn't the talent.
Yeah.
Yet he found a way to bring the talent together and to encourage the talent to perform and to figure out a way to allow the talent to perform that gained attention. And that made people stop and made people care and made people notice. And so he's somebody that I've always really tried to craft my approach after. It feels kind of random now that I say it, but
That's so cool. That is so cool. Jesse, I was just gonna say before you jumped into that question that we're both in the building, so we both hear that narrative and that storytelling that you get to do within those home games. One of my favorite parts is when they're lining up to come out the tunnel too, and you can just hear bring them out. Like I love that. Like it's just little added elements of things that we've been going to Kings games for so long that we haven't heard before, and it just kind of brings that extra spark of like, oh, we're getting ready for something. Like so you do a really great job at kind of making us anticipate what's about to happen.
That makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah.
And as small of an element as that is, it's something that a lot of thought was put into, and it's something that I'm really happy that you noticed. So thank you for saying that.
Of course.
There was a moment in, I think it was the 2011 playoffs. I could be wrong. It might have been 2010, but you could tell there were a lot of parts of the live game experience that hadn't been perfected yet. And there was a moment late in the third period. I think it was a game 5 or game 6. I wish I could remember the specific game, but there was a moment where there's like a minute and a half left in the game. It was a close game. It was either tied or the Kings were down by 1. And there was a timeout or a stoppage in play or a commercial break or something. And the arena was silent. The fans weren't doing anything. There was no music playing. There was nothing happening on the Jumbotron. It was just dead. And I remember thinking in that moment, though I had been one of those people who might have grumbled under their breath, like, I didn't come here for a concert. I came here for a hockey game, blah, 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 you know. But then in that moment, I realized, like, no, the crowd needs to be involved. We need to be, you know, cheering or shouting or screaming or invested in the game. So I'm curious, just from your experience as a sports fan, what some of your favorite teams or moments or players have been, because I do think it's important for those people who are controlling the off-ice element of the show to recognize those moments when, you know, the crowd needs to be engaged.
So I'll give you 2 examples, and it's funny because they're the same example.
All right.
But remember when Eric Gagne used to come out?
Yeah.
And when he came out, you felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And doors opened and his song came on and you felt it. And I think you get the same feeling from McKinley Jansen, where when he comes out, it's a moment and it's a buildup. And it's and actually if you look at Major League, I think Major League may have really had a big impact on that, because when he came out to Wild Thing, it was a big thing and it was a big moment and it became a signature moment for that character. But that sort of has carried over into and I don't know if Major League did it before the Dodgers or if the movie did it before baseball, or if baseball did it before the movie. But I remember even watching that, feeling impacted and knowing that the moment was big. And so that's the thing I would go to automatically when you said that. And then and thinking the Chicago Bulls, that whole, you know, cinematic, dramatic scene before Bulls games, it made you stop and it made you pay attention. And so those are a few sport inspirations.
I think those are perfect. I've forgotten all about Eric Gagne, but you're right. I can't remember the song that they played when he came out, but yeah,
I can't remember his song, but
it would pump you up. But yeah, Sirius would play before the Bulls games, and everybody, you know, recognizes those notes. And obviously, we referenced the Black Parade, and you know, you can't keep tapping that well over and over and over again, or it loses some importance. But we were going to talk later in this episode about picking specific songs for each player as they score a goal. I'm curious if you see a future where players' goal songs are similar to the, you know, Major League Baseball walk-up songs.
It's definitely a thought. It's definitely a thought in the back of my mind. And we have a list of some songs. I will say the biggest challenge we've run into so far is hockey moves so fast.
Yeah.
And you know, half the time you don't really know who scored the goal. And so you're trying to not trigger the wrong song. So I think that's a work in progress, but I definitely think it is something that is on our radar, and hopefully we'll get there. And we've done it a couple times. You know, Doughty has the Magic Stick as his song. And, been able to play that a couple times. But, so that's a work in progress.
Oh my goodness.
Producer Trev, by the way, chipped in with "Welcome to the Jungle" was the song for Eric.
Okay.
So there, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Carrlyn.
I was gonna say, do you have any favorite songs that you just can't wait to blast in the arena? Songs in particular that just get you pumped up, that would get, you know, the team pumped up and the crowd eventually pumped up.
There's a whole list of songs.
There's too many. I know that was too broad.
Just, you know, funny. Think about wanting to bring more of a contemporary infusion with music, but also thinking about wanting to bring these big sort of classic songs back, because those big classic songs are the songs that people can really rally around, and the songs that trigger certain emotions, so they make you excited. So yeah, there are tons of songs. I was just thinking the other day, that I wanted to play this song that I loved a while ago, and I just think it would sound so great in the arena. And we haven't played it yet, but it's "Crazy" by Aerosmith, and I love that song. And it's such a big song that I think it would sound so amazing in the arena. So hopefully we'll play that soon.
Wow.
I'd like to make one simple request when we do
Please.
get fans back in the building. Like, won't really work until then, but there's a gimmick, and I think the Kings probably stole it from Detroit or some other crowd, but where they play a song, get the audience singing it, and then drop out the audio so it's just the audience singing.
Mhm.
I personally love that, so more of that, please. And the Kiss Cam, bring the Kiss Cam back. That's it. Those are my requests.
Done and
All right.
done.
Perfect. Listen, thank you so much for joining us, Wanton. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Carlyn.
Of course.
And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you guys.
Velarde to Carter now. And Carter. Tic-tac-toe, Velarde. That shot altered by an Avalanche stick. They score!
Huge thanks to Wanton Davis for talking to us. And Carlyn, when it comes to a starting lineup, everybody loves the starter from Jack Black. Loaded with the superior skincare that the pros love, LA Kings fans can get the starter for just $10, shipping included. Available exclusively at getjackblack.com with the code TEAMJB. The starter has 4 of Jack Black's best-selling skincare and shave products, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. That's SPF 25, Carlyn, in natural mint. Here's to the winning combination of the LA Kings and the starter from Jack Black. That's $10 off plus free shipping, available at getjackblack.com with the code TEAMJB while supplies last. That's the catch.
Deal.
There's always a catch with that, and it's while supplies last. Now, Carlyn, we spoke to Wanton. We talked about setting a tone, creating an environment, and music, right, has the ability to trigger memories in a way. Smells and music, I think, are two of the things that are most effective at triggering memory. And for those who have recently watched WandaVision, we talked about it recently on the pregame show. No spoilers, I won't. But we talked about it on an episode of Game Night, the LA Kings pregame show on the iHeart LA Kings audio network. But one of the things that fascinated me about the show, without getting into spoilers, is that there is an ongoing conversation about identity. And one of the things I find fascinating about hockey, specifically goalie masks, is that there are 2 kinds of goalie masks, in my mind anyway. Goalie masks that show off the goalie's personality, and goalie masks that become the goalie's personality. So some guys like Jason LaBarbera, famously from the Kings, would have a lot of Metallica album cover art on his helmet. And you say, okay, he's showing off his personality. He likes Metallica. He's putting Metallica on his helmet.
Yeah.
Other guys like Cal Peterson and Jonathan Quick, for however many years Jonathan Quick was rocking the same helmet, it becomes his personality. You see that helmet and you know, aha, that's Jonathan Quick. Right. It doesn't necessarily tell you anything about what he likes, about what his interests are. It just is Johnny, right? It becomes his face when he's playing. So I'm fascinated by that. So we talked last week to the mayor about goal songs, right? And we talked a little bit about it with Wanton just now. So Carlyn, I have chosen some songs that I think should be the goal songs for current Kings players.
Love that.
Because I think maybe the players, like I said, there's probably 2 songs that show the player's personality and songs that become the player's personality. I'm less interested in the songs that are the Kings player's personality. I'm more interested in picking songs that I think should be. And so I'm going to give a few, and then I would like to encourage Kings fans to tweet at you or me or the Kings account suggestions they might have. And Carlyn, you weigh in
think
and the Bears. That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
we did
we'll
that.
see about that. But so I set up some fake rules for myself to guide me through this process. And like I said, weigh in if you think of any that pop into mind. So the first rule was the reference has to be pretty obvious.
Okay.
Right. So, I'll just start off with Sean Walker. There's a song by Fitz and the Tantrums called The Walker that I
Okay.
quite like. No mystery there, right?
Yeah.
Walker. It's clear.
Yeah.
I was looking for Anze Kopitar, and I struggled a little bit because you can't go with Anze, right? You're not going to find a lot of songs with that in it. Can't go with Kopitar. It's a pretty unique name. Then I thought, oh, well, he wears 11.
Okay.
So found a song called 11 by 11, or 11 plus 11, excuse me. So that brings us to our second made-up rule that I implemented. Sorry, I'm looking up the name of the band that sings that song.
You got it.
As I'm drawing a blank. But the second rule of the song was that it has to be like catchy. It has to be something that you could play to be a goal song, right? I don't want any soft ballads or anything like that. Well, because it's a goal song. It's a it's a celebration, right? It's gonna be fun. Sure. So then I was struggling again with Drew Doughty. And came up with 8 Mile by Eminem. Maybe just the instrumental. Don't have to get into any scary lyrics. You can just play that one. Or possibly 8 Days a Week by the Beatles, which is another upbeat, good song.
Yeah, there you go.
I Follow, right? I think we've all seen the U2 song, right? I Will Follow You, or I don't think that's the title, but I'm blanking on the title at the moment, but though that's the chorus. Sure. So anyway, like I said, I think I would like Kings fans to tweet at us if you have any songs that meet those 2 requirements. It has to be a pretty direct link, right?
I think I got one. I think maybe for someone like Gabe Velarde.
Yeah.
In Circles by Post Malone. Face Off. Got.
Oh, okay.
In the circle, he's in the circle doing his thing because he's the center. Because he's.
Sure.
But they're not all in circles. There's some dots outside.
No, that's all right. But I like that one.
There's something there.
There is. The other one I came up with was Juice by Lizzo, obviously for Adrian Kempe.
Yes.
And I think that particularly helpful. Obviously they're in Anaheim, so they're not going to play the goal songs for our guys. But
yes, Wagon Wheel for Wagner.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, I was talking to my dad today, just trying to come up with songs for that. And, I was saying Wagner, I don't know. It's tough. You're not going to find a direct Wagner. 27's a pretty, can't imagine there's a ton of songs with 27 out there.
Yeah.
But, songs for Carter, there's got to be Carter. So there's a ton of Brown songs. But, Brown Eyed Girl is not exactly what we're looking for. Maybe Mr. Brown, I think, by Bob Marley is out there. That's an option. Anyway, like I said, Kings fans. Tweet us in. We'll come up with a final definitive playlist in a week or 2 once we get all these submissions in. Again, tag me or Carrlyn or the LA Kings account, and we'll see what we can put together. But I think that's going to do it for this week, Carrlyn, unless we've got anything else we really want to highlight from the past week.
I say we call John Hoven right now and get him on the phone, talk about more music. And do we have to end? Is that?
We don't have to. I'm going to go watch the replay of last night's game. That's what I'm
all right. We're ending it. Thank you for having me, Jesse.
Hey, thanks for being here. And, of course, thanks to producer Trevor for stepping in this week. Thanks to the LA Kings for winning that game. That was a ton of fun. Thanks to Wanton Davis for talking to us. Thanks to you, Kings fans, for watching. I'm Jesse Cohen. This has been Tape to Tape. We'll talk to you next week.